Hello, I'm going to talk about lesson 5, which was the recent and the last lesson we done. But unfortunately, Paris wasn't here for lesson 5. He wasn't there for lesson 4 either, which was really irritating because it means that again we couldn't rehearse properly. But I'll talk about what we got from it and what we done and what I ended up doing with the rehearsals. But first, during the lesson, we focused on complicity, and we focused on what they used to do in rehearsals and what they do and how they devise certain materials, and we used that information for. Well, we were taught how they devised, and we were taught what they do to get their bodies all in tune, and I think this was really helpful. So we started with a small warm-up, which just led us using figures of 8 with our hands, and straight away I think this is really good. Obviously, can't talk. It was a really good warm-up because straight away it loosens your wrists, loosens your wrists. So you know how to use them, everything's in tune. Then we started doing figures of 8 with our fingers, which again, fingers, everyone's moving, arms moving, and then figures of 8 with our arms, figures of 8 with our head, figure of 8 with our legs, figure of 8 with our toes, figure of 8 with our ankles. And I think this is extremely good because it just warms your entire body up, gets you ready. And me and Paris used this every time in our rehearsals in our after school rehearsals, in order just to get our all bodies in tune, all our bodies completely ready to obviously be physical. And it means all the nicks and crannies, everything, all that irritation, all that sort of clicking in your body, it sort of just sorts it out. All your bones, all your joints, everything is smooth, and it just is so much easier for obviously rehearsing with. After the figure of 8, we then got into a 2, and we experimented with how we could balance a stick in between our two chests, both of our chests, and the reacting forces for and against. So when I'd move, he'd have to move backwards, and we have to balance it perfectly so it didn't have to fall down. So this was extremely helpful because it helps you work as a 2, and it helps you get that sort of movement body, and it helps you visualize what it's like working in a 2, and it means you properly have to be in tune with your mind and your body. So you've got to visualize this thing there. So you've actually got to think there's something there, and it's good because obviously it means your brain's engaged as well as your body's. And it also means you're engaged working as a 2, and it means teamwork comes into effect, and it's just really helpful. And I done it with Alex Leake, and we would straight away experiment with going to the floor, standing up. We experimented with all the different ways. We sort of turning around, walking forward, walking back, and then when we got onto the floor, we done sort of like that. So say if we're both on the floor, he'd move forward like that, and I'd move forward like that, and it was just really easy because we were so engaged and so physically engaged and mentally engaged that we knew what we was doing. And me and Paris used this in our last rehearsal that we had a few days ago, where we wanted to just finalise a piece because it just meant we was engaged. And we tried to use this during our actual piece, but it didn't sort of work out the dynamics of it. I think we wanted to use it just to show sort of what we'd got from the complicity, and I think that was only why we sort of tried to put it in, because we wanted to sort of understand that I'd gathered from what I'd on a lesson. I enjoyed it. I thought it meant I was mentally engaged, physically engaged. So I taught Paris how to do it. Me and Paris done it, and we tried to implement it into the piece, but it just didn't have any relevance or didn't have any bearing. So I think we just kept it out for that reason, because it just wasn't that effective. It didn't speak anything for the piece, didn't speak anything for the theme, it didn't speak anything for the stimulus. So I thought it was better we kept it out, rather than just putting it in there almost for the fact that I've gathered from what we got from the lesson and I've used it in my piece. So I think that was more of a good decision we made, and we went through that process at least of thinking, let's try this. Does it work? It doesn't work. Let's leave it out. And then after this we got into a 6. And we stood in a small square, and Simon said it would just exist in the space. SLF just exists in space. So we existed, all of us existed, and then he'd give us a circumstance that would happen during in the lift. So the first one was the lift stuck, and then how we would all react to that, and then we all reacted in our certain way. And when sort of the existing in the space sort of died down a bit, he would add another thing. So he added, alright, visualise that there is a wasp. and it was very good for everyone working together in a really small space, because obviously you all have to be, again, physically and mentally in tune in what you're doing. You've got to understand where to go in the space. You've got to all be together, because it's more about working together, thinking, right, we've all got to react as if there is a wash there, and then suddenly when it goes over there, you've all got to, one person, no one takes lead, you've all got to both look it over there and sort of walk back. You can't think, alright, Gavin's looking up there, I'm going to walk back because he's walking back. You've got to all sort of follow it, and then walk back, and it's, ow. And after this sort of an exercise like this, I mean, it gives you small spaces, and it gives you that work with small spaces. Me and Paris never really explored this in a way of standing up. We explored this in a way of sitting down, because obviously our piece starts with the Christmas truce, and it's cold winter's day, it's Christmas, and we wanted to start with small space and just existing in it, because obviously they're in the trenches, and we wanted to, okay, a small space, let's see how they exist in a small space when it's cold. So we sat down and we just existed for a minute, and we showed it to somebody, and we thought, okay, do you like this? Is it relevant to the piece? Do you think it works? And that everyone agreed that it really did exist. It gives that time for the piece to breathe. It gives that time for everyone to acknowledge what's going on. And I think it is breathing in the performance. It is the start of the performance. It's cold. You get the atmosphere. You get the feeling. You almost get the theme from it, from just this one sort of just existing in the space. And this, obviously, what I caught from the lesson was very useful for when we was doing that in the chairs, because it helped us exist in the space using physical theatre, not words. And this was extremely helpful when we implemented this in our piece, and it gave us the first minute. And I think it's that first minute of silence. It's calm, it's peaceful, and I think it just works, because it's not all about big movements. It's very small, and it's just very small, very calm, very in depth, and it's almost like physical in the small movements. So like in the face, it's more like he's not looking at the bigger picture of our arms and our body. It's purely what's going on in our face. And I think this really helped us, and it really helped our piece, because it gave us that first bit, and so that was extremely good. And then at the end, I sort of think we sort of played a game just to loosen ourselves up, and it was do in the space, do like a couple of movements and a couple of things that relate or give like a certain scene to obviously a film. And we done Titanic, and we done a boat, and I think this was a game, but it helped us try and visualise something that wasn't sort of easy to visualise. So we made a boat out of me, and made an iceberg out of Sarah, and then we had Gavin, and then we made a door out of me, and then obviously Gavin and Sarah being Jack and Rose. But I think that I didn't really use that for our piece. I didn't think that was effective with our rehearsal methods, because I don't think existing in space trying to make inanimate objects with our body was particularly helpful. So we never used that. We didn't want to experiment with that. We didn't think it would help our piece at all. But we definitely did experiment with the existing in space with the lift, and we used that for existing in space in the trenches on a cold winter's day, which straight away it's got one of our focal points to the first bit of the piece. So that was lesson 5, and thank you very much. I'm going to just draw this.